One of the more common mistakes that we see both Australian expats and residents make with their estate planning, specifically their will, is making the statement that my estate is to be split equally amongst my children. Let's have a look at why this can be a particularly dangerous statement when it comes to your will. Hi there, I'm Jared Brown, Australian expat financial planner based here in Singapore. Thank you for tuning into my video today. Today we are looking at the dangers of not being specific enough when it comes to your will and your overall estate planning. Far too often we see quite a number of Australian expats adding the statement to their will that their assets, their house, their savings, their shares, whatever it might be, are to be split equally amongst their children. Now here's where it can get particularly challenging. Because it is so vague, it is down to the executor and obviously down to the courts in many instances of what the actual intent of that statement is. Does that mean that the property you own in Australia, it might be your family residence, it might be an investment property, is to be owned as joint tenants by your two children? Okay, well let's say that that is the only asset. Let's say that the property is worth $5 million at the point of your passing, and your children, your son and your daughter, go and own that property jointly as joint tenants. They have $2.5 million worth of the property each. Now, as joint tenants, under the law, if one passes away, the ownership naturally goes to the surviving owner, which means that your son or daughter, or whichever passed away, as unfortunate as that scenario sounds, wouldn't actually go to their children or your grandchildren, it would go to the one child. So we need to think about whether we actually mean that our estate is to be liquidated and then distributed equally to our children or to our beneficiaries, or do we mean that the property is to go to one child and the cash, shares and super is to go to the other? We need to think through how these assets are distributed, what the tax implications could be, particularly if your children are expats, one is living overseas, one's living in Australia. What is the tax treatment on the assets they might inherit? And how are we ring fencing or protecting the assets that we've worked hard to accumulate? So we need to think through testamentary trusts, how we want our assets to be distributed, and of course, how to ensure as little conflict as possible when it comes to our beneficiaries once we actually do pass away. It is certainly not a fun or exciting topic to think about, but it's an important one to sit down with your financial planner and your solicitor and really go through these things in great detail and make sure they genuinely reflect your actual wishes. Thank you for tuning in. Please do reach out if you have any questions, drop me a note with any comments. Appreciate your time. Look forward to seeing you in the next video.